right, friends, welcome back to the Overshare Hour. I'm in a very good mood today. How are you doing, Kenzie?
I'm in a better mood now. I'm actually doing pretty well. I have once again had a hectic week, but I have a lot to look forward to this weekend.
No, me and you, I swear, every week we're like, it's been a week, so
It's
much
been a week.
tea.
But it's also just like the realness. It's like I think anyone being honest, well, maybe not anyone, but a lot of people being honest would be like, it's been a week. I can't wait for the weekend. I can't
Yes.
wait to have a moment to relax. Okay, so the reason that I'm coming off a hard day is because I've had all three of the kids, which is simultaneously wonderful and like overwhelming at the same time.
Yeah.
Mainly because two are mine and one is not. And so the dynamic is just different. Like it's just different when your kids don't really understand like I don't know. When it's your kids, it's just different. So I don't even know how to get into that. It just is. And it is really fun. We get to do a lot of fun stuff together. And I'm grateful that I have a job where I can bring my kids. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm a nanny. So I nanny a little boy. And so the way my day ended, though, is I'm leaving to take him home with the girls, my daughters. And he, okay, can I just tell you the story real quick? Okay.
Yes.
So he was napping and now he's getting too big for his pack and play. So he's napping on my bed, which is like an agreement that we have, right? Like it's totally fine. He naps on my bed. So I put him down for his nap and I'm in the living room working out like while he's napping. And all of a sudden I hear him go, all done, all done. And he goes, girly pops. Because every once in a while I will call my daughters girly pops. And so he's like, girly pops, all done. So I come in, I open the door, and he is standing. He has unzipped, he has like a onesie pajamas. He'd unzipped them from the bottom, torn off of his diaper, and he was just standing there. And I was like, why'd you take off your diaper? And he goes, I peed. And so I picked up the diaper, and there's a line on the diaper that shows you if it's blue, that means there's pee in it. If it's yellow, that means they have not peed. Okay. And I was like, you didn't pee. The line is yellow, like you didn't pee. And he goes, no, I peed on the bed. And I looked down and he had peed. He'd taken off his diaper and peed all over my bed. But also he had had all of his like stuffed animals and his blankets. And so I had enough time to quick wash them, but not dry them. So I'm stressing out. I like throw all his stuff in the washing machine. I text the parents. I'm like, this is what happened. They're like, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's fine. It's not the first time a child has peed in my bed. And I was like, I'm not gonna have time to dry it though. Like you're gonna have to dry it when I get home because he sleeps with these blankets and these stuffed animals every night. So I was like, you're gonna have to dry it. So we're rushing out the door. I have all these bags, all this stuff. I'm rushing the kids out the door because we're running late because of this fiasco. And I put all of the clothes in like a trash bag that are mildly wet from not being fully dried. And I left them. And I live 45 minutes away. And we had to record this tonight. So I get to the house and I like unloading the car and I'm like, where's the bag with all the blankets and the stuff? And I was looking at the girls. I'm like, do y'all know where the bag is? And they're like, I don't know where the bag is. I was like, okay. So I go inside and I was like, I left the bag. And because of my brain, I'm always leaving stuff at their house. I'll leave my charger, like stuff, right? And I have to come back and get it. And so they look at me and they're like, oh my gosh. I was like, don't worry about it. I'll go home and get it and bring it back, which would have meant I would have had to push our
Yeah.
recording back. And the dad, he was like, don't worry, I will follow you home and just get it, which was so nice of them.
Wow, that's
So
really
nice of them.
sweet.
I think they also felt really bad. They kept feeling bad about him peeing on the bed, which was super not a big deal. I was like, it's fine.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but like also kids are kids. So
Exactly. Yeah, it was like, it's not the end of the world. But he drove 45 minutes to my house and picked up the bag of clothes, or not clothes, but blankets and stuff. And I was like, sorry. And me being the person that I am, like it was my fault. I'm a people pleaser and I'm anxious kind of. So I was like, it's my fault. So the whole time driving, I'm like, this guy is driving across town to get this bag that I left. Anyway, but I'm doing better now. I got my glass of wine and I got you.
yes, you do. Oh my gosh, that is a truly chaotic story time. You're so chill about that.
No,
So
I'm
I'm
not.
glad.
No, I'm chill
Yeah.
now because it's over, but I was like not feeling chill. And I feel like that's how my entire week has been. Like I just feel like there have just been moments like that where I'm like, how every single day.
Yeah. Well, here's to wine and whatever
Yeah.
this drink is that
Wh-
Brandon made me.
what is
Um,
it?
It's that same one that I made at the Bachelorette. It's my go-to other than wine. And I asked Bran because he went to a movie and I was like, I have to redo my makeup because I was looking all oily. And I was like, can you make me a drink? And he said, oh, it's gonna be a double. I accidentally poured in way too much. So this
Literally
is like
double.
the largest and strongest drink of my life. So if you see me like purse my lips on the video, that's what's going on.
Yeah, babe. So if y'all, and babe, Luca, because he listens to this, and my fiance, if anyone hasn't heard, I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago where we talked about this, he told me that he can tell by the way that I talk that I have had a glass of wine. So
So let us know at
let
the
us
end
know.
of the episode.
Yeah, babe.
Kenzie, there was something that I really wanted to talk to you about before we
Okay.
get started. Okay. So did you see the video of the people getting caught at the Coldplay concert?
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, we
Yep.
have to talk about this
I saw
because
it last night, actually.
my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
So if you guys
He
have
was,
not
like,
seen
dropped. He dropped. After his full on, like, just dropped to the ground.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't see the video, which I'm sure y'all have because it has 42 million views on TikTok, at a Coldplay concert, they were doing the kiss cam and they were scanning and they ended up scanning to this couple that was so lovey-dovey. Like his arms were wrapped like really high up on her stomach, like very much dating. And when the kiss cam got to them and they got called out, they ended up like dropping to the floor and like hiding. And everybody was like, oh, these people are having an affair. Like,
Yeah.
100%. So it took TikTok about 15 minutes to find out who these people were.
Right.
And apparently it is the CEO of a very huge AI company. And then the girl is his coworker, who I think is the head of HR, which is
Yeah.
insanity. So
Yeah.
anyway, that has been providing me some mild entertainment.
Yep, me too. I literally was watching it last night and then I opened Facebook and there was I didn't even get time to read the post because I had to like move on, but I saved it to go back to read because he made a statement. Did you see the statement?
Apparently it was fake.
Oh.
I thought it was real, but the company itself did release a statement today saying that they're launching an investigation. So,
well.
ruh-roh, that was pretty crazy. Do
Yeah, it
not
was.
cheat and don't go to a place that has a kiss cam if you intend to do that.
I know he's like holding her and when it moved her, I was reading her lips and I think she was like, oh, that's so cool. Like whatever they were doing. She's like, that's so cool. And then she's like, not me.
I'm like, this was a cultural moment. So if you guys haven't seen the clip, go watch it.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
okay. Well, let's jump into our first submissions. And this is your reminder that we are not therapists. We are just best friends who really love to give our overshares and do our best to give you guys some solid advice.
The advice we live by.
So I'm going to jump into the first one because I think Kenzie would have more to say on this topic than I would. So I recently had a baby and I feel like I've become invisible to my non-mom friends. They've stopped inviting me out, and when we do talk, I feel like I'm boring if I bring up anything baby related. And I get it, they're in a different phase of life, but it still hurts. So how do you stay connected to friends who don't understand the massive shift that you're going through in life?
I had my kids super young, so I totally understand this perspective and this place that you're in. I'm lucky, I think, that I had people like you as my best friend who was also related to my children. So that helped buffer that a little bit. And I did have supportive friends, but I know that this is a challenge because I did have friendships that I felt like I didn't know how to connect anymore. And the biggest thing for me, you're saying that you don't know how to connect because you talk a lot about your baby. And that makes sense because that's your whole life. Like your whole world becomes your baby. And it makes total sense that that would be what you're focused on. And also, what else do you have to talk about? When you're dripping in your child and your day in and day out is this, then it's really almost impossible, I think, to even have anything to talk about outside of that. And especially in the beginning, I think that the biggest thing is that you have to talk to your friends about how you're feeling and be vulnerable about it. You have to tell them, I feel like all I have to talk about is this because this is my life right now. And whenever I do it, I wonder how you guys are perceiving me because there is a chance that they're not feeling the way that you think that they're feeling, or they also might be feeling it on the other side where they're like, well, this is great, but we don't know how to relate to her. So she says these things about her baby, and all we can do is listen. We don't have anything to respond with. So, say you're in a group of friends and you're all in the same place of life, you're married and you don't have kids. Well, all of you can sit around and talk about what it's like to be married and not having kids. Like your day in and your day out is, similar to some extent, and there's variations of that, but you're in the same phase of life, but then you add in something different and they don't know how to respond because they've never been through it. It's just not relatable to them. But that doesn't mean necessarily that they don't want to hear about it. And I think bridging that gap is vulnerability. So if you tell them, hey, I love you guys so much and I feel like, I'm going to say this word because it's how I feel, but I feel like a burden whenever I bring this up in conversation. I feel like I'm lowering the mood or I'm killing the vibe whenever I talk about my kid. That this might give them an open door to be like, oh my gosh, no, like we love to hear about your kid. It's just that we don't know what to say. And so we also feel that, right? On our end, like, what do we say? What questions do we ask, right? However, if you're not feeling that way and you really are like, no, the vibe is off, like it's super weird, I know they're uncomfortable, then I still say have the conversation. And regardless, it's time to start putting yourself out there and finding mom friends. And that doesn't mean that these friends aren't important to you or that you don't stay connected to these friends or that you guys might not meet up again down the road in a more connected way. It doesn't mean that you have to end the friendship. But if this is your circle and these are your people and you feel like you don't have that support that you need because not because they're not willing, but just because they can't give it because they are not in it in the same way, then finding even one person that you can have those conversations with and have that outlet with is going to be extremely helpful. It might even be so helpful that you can come back and hang out with those friends at a later time and you don't feel that need to talk about that so much because you've already done that with someone else who gets it. And I only say that because when you're in the depths of motherhood in the best and worst ways, because it's not always easy, and you need someone to lean on and talk to and have those conversations with, you really need a friend. Like, you need a friend who gets it. You need a friend who really understands what you're saying and is able to be there for you in that way. That doesn't mean that these friends don't love you and they don't care. It just means they can't show up in that conversation because they don't understand it. So finding a friend, even if it's through a mommy and me class, you can, and if you're not into that, I totally get it, but you can literally go on Facebook and find people that live in your city, like even in the region of your city. It'll be like the Northwest side, right? Like there will be a group of people who have children within your age range, and it's totally, the whole purpose of it is to just connect with other people who are in the same phase of life. So even if that friend is just online because you're like, well, when am I going to have time to meet up? That's okay too, just to have someone to talk to. But I think at the end of the day, when we are in that place and we really need the support of our friends and they're not in the same phase of life, it's really helpful to just find someone who is, just someone you can dish with, someone you could literally be like, hey, I need someone that I can talk to about this thing. And they're going to say, me too, because you're not the only one. There's so many of us who have kids before our friends do, and everyone who's in that part of their life experiences this feeling where it's like, how do I talk to my friends? How do I stay connected? Get connected somewhere else where you can really open up about these things and feel heard and feel seen because they're in it too. And then go hang out with these friends and let that connection exist the way that it does. You don't have to force it, have that conversation, be vulnerable and talk about how you're feeling and let it be what it is. But you can still stay connected. And I think the biggest thing is that you will start feeling less disconnected when you have someone else that you can connect with over this topic. I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I needed. I needed just one person that I could talk to who was in it. And then I didn't feel like I needed it as much outside of that. So
Yeah.
you got to find someone.
Yeah, that's good advice. I am not a mom, so it's hard because I'm like, I don't even know what to say because I like don't want to get canceled if I say the wrong thing.
Mm,
Well, not canceled, but just I don't want people being like, "Well, you don't even know because you're not a mom," which totally valid. I'm not a mom, so I really don't know what it's like, but I will say that I think it did help me having you become a mom at such a young age. And also because they were also my nieces, I was like
mm,
equally invested in these children. Or maybe,
yes.
obviously they're your kids, but like I was invested in your pregnancy. I was super invested in the lives of my nieces, and I still am, and I love them. And I think that you were my first friend that had kids. So that
Mhm.
really helped me be able to talk to my friends who were moms later on.
Yeah.
Um, so really, I can think of three mom friends that I have. So it's you, someone else, and then this one person. Like, I actually held a lot of. Okay, well, I want to say first is that I would like to think that I'm pretty good about like asking about people's kids. Like when I would go to coffee with somebody else, one of the other three moms, like I'll be like, what has she been doing lately? Like, what has she been learning? What's her personality? Has she done anything silly lately? And I
You are really good at
genuinely,
that.
thanks. Like, I want to know because obviously I know that it's important to you and it's important to me because I love these kids. But I think it was really hard for me. I had one friend who, Kenzie, the one friend, and I struggled because I felt like I was constantly asking about the kids, but there was like never any questions about me, So
Good point.
I like felt the opposite. Like I felt like, oh, she actually doesn't like care about me or our friendship at all anymore. And that was which it's like, oh, woe is me. Like obviously I know I'm not drowning over here, but it was hard realizing that like once she had kids, she really didn't care about me anymore. Like she didn't care about the things that I was going through or who I was dating or how it was going. And that was really hard. And I think that having these two other friends, you being one of them, who were moms and you still cared about me and you were like a good friend and show up for me, I think that that really helped because I feel like we had like a balanced perspective in our
Yeah.
friendship. So I would just make sure, are you acting involved in their lives as well? And going back to what Ken said about, yes, make sure that you're communicating with them,
Yeah.
because they may really not know. And 100%, if you say it and then they literally never ask you about your child who you love and who you might also be in, the depths of overwhelm, and they're not asking you how you're doing, yes, absolutely. It is. And either way, I believe it is time to at least find one friend who really
Hmm.
understands. And I know here in our city, they have mommy and me times at libraries.
Yes.
And just, which it could sound like, oh, I don't want to go to that, but it's just people like you,
Yeah.
who are looking for friends who understand what you're going through. And I feel like it's similar with like deconstruction. People ask, how do you handle deconstruction? I connect with people who are deconstructing on the internet, and that's healing
Yep.
to me. So, similarly, if you're feeling alone and you're feeling like your friends don't understand you, try to connect with other moms who also might feel misunderstood because it is such a disservice. I think it is such a disservice when friends don't ask about their friends' kids. I mean, that is a huge part of their life. And as your friend, you should care and you should be asking. Like, they don't just like swallow up and become nothing once they
Yeah.
become moms. They're human beings with feelings, and you are going to realize that whenever you have kids. So I feel like that's the thing I also try to remind myself is like, someday it's going to be me, and I'm going to be like, wow, nobody checked up on me. Like, nobody asked me how I was doing because you hear that all the
Yeah.
time, and it's really sad. So I would think just try to communicate with them and then also try to find an outside source either way. That way you just feel supported.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get canceled for that, GB, because it's actually the raw, honest truth. Yes, that being a new mother and being in the newness of all of that is very intense. It's a life-changing event. So it's important, I think, that your friends show up with for you knowing that, right? That you might be a little bit less involved in their lives in the beginning, but there does have to be a return to the friendship. Like, you have to return to the friendship and be invested in their lives. So, no matter how hard it is, if we want to maintain our friendships with other people, no matter what's going on in our own lives, longer term, I'm not saying in the first few weeks. You can drop off the face of the planet in the first few months of having a child. You don't have to be pressuring yourself to reach out and go grab coffee when you have a newborn. But eventually, eventually you need to return to your friendships that matter to you the most and invest in them by giving a shit about their lives. And that can be hard too when your brain is constantly reeling about this new life that you are, taking care of and protecting. And that's your whole world. So, yes, I think that it's important to have your outlet, but it didn't even cross my mind to think maybe they do feel like they don't know how to relate because they don't want to impose on you because they're wanting to be sensitive, but they also have stuff going on, but they don't know how to bring it up because you have a baby. So I think it first starts with the conversation of being like, I love you guys. I want to maintain connection. How do we do that? And then both parties have to be able to be open to receiving whatever is needed from both people because your friends are still people who need you, and you obviously are a person who needs them. Your friends do not become less human once we have children. Your friends are still people too.
Yeah, and I feel like in relationships, romantic relationships, we do honest communication often,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't do it as much with our friends. So I
Nope.
think just like checking in and being like, how are we feeling?
Yeah.
I feel like that is really important because I think one thing that you did really good. I feel bad because I'm like using this one as an example. We no longer talk. This is the maid of honor situation. So I don't feel bad, to be honest, to talk about it. But, with her, it would be like we're on the phone and I'm like crying to her. I'm telling her something like really hard that's going on. And then all of a sudden I hear her talking to the Starbucks barista and she never told me that she was busy or like she would go be talking to her kids and I'm like, "Oh, she just like stopped listening at some point." And like one thing I really appreciate about you, Ken's, is like whenever that even if like we're hanging out and the kids are there, like if they're needing attention or they're doing something wrong, you're like, "Hold on just 1 second." And I feel like that always made me feel really seen. You know what I mean?
To not
Because
just start talking, but to be like,
yeah.
hey, or when you answer the phone, be like, hey, I have the kids with me. Is it
Yes.
okay that we have this conversation now, or would you like to have it later?
Yeah, and Kenzie and I do this all the time. Like there are
Mhm.
times where I'll send a voice note and she'll be like, "I am with the kids and I will respond to this when the kids are not in the car."
I am
And I
dripping
just
in children.
I feel like just having that open communication makes me feel really seen. So, yeah, just don't be afraid to share how you're feeling in your
Mhm.
friendships. I think that the friendships that are worth keeping and investing in, they also want to have a healthy relationship and you guys can go from there. Oh my gosh, we
Yeah.
talked so long about that.
Oh my gosh. We have to stop having fear around conflict in our friendships. That's all I have to say.
Period. Okay, that was our advice. There we go. Okay. All right, next one.
Yeah, okay, I'll read it. Clearly, we have had wine and a drink. Okay, I will read this one. My best friend of 10 years lied to me about something really serious. She was seeing the guy she knew I was in love with behind my back. She apologized, but only after she got caught. I still miss her, and I'm embarrassed by how much I want to forgive her. Does forgiveness mean I have to let her back in, or is it okay to forgive from a distance?
Well, first thought is forgiveness does not mean that you have to let her back in. And I feel that for every situation because I can't tell you how many times people have told me that they are expected to forgive their abusers and also remain in contact with them or see them at family functions. I don't believe in that. I believe you can forgive. A lot of people who are strong in their faith, they feel compelled that they need to give forgiveness, and forgiveness doesn't equal not having boundaries. So I did just want to say that. Um, but I know that you're saying that you miss her and you wish that you could forgive her. I think I would need more information on how she reacted when you found out. Was she kind of like, this isn't something like this is personal? Was she really apologetic? Did she really realize how bad this was? Is she still seeing him? I feel like those are all questions that I would need to be able to try to figure out where she's coming from in this situation. Personally, I don't know that I could get over that because especially I think it's one thing and people might disagree with me, but I think it's one thing if someone's like at a party and then you kiss and you kiss your friend's crush and oh no, I came to you, I told you what I did. Or even if they hid it, but if that was the context of it. But this whole she was seeing the guy that you were in love with and she's hiding that from you for an extended period of time. I think it goes down to what type of person you are and what you can handle. Me personally, I do not think that I could handle that. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't, but I'm not giving that as advice. That is like a personal preference kind of thing in my mind. But one of the reasons we really wanted to answer this one is I can very much relate to this idea of wanting so hard to forgive somebody to the detriment of possibly yourself. So, when my maid of honor pulled that whole con, and then I ended up, before I realized that there was grooming behavior and all of that going on, I wanted so badly for us to reconcile. Like, and the amount of conversations, I know me and Ken's talked about this often, and there was one time where, she was going through a really hard time and I felt bad for her despite the fact that there was no accountability, no apology. It was embarrassing how much I wanted to keep her in my life despite, I don't know, just despite the hurt and the betrayal with no accountability. But I invited her to Barnes and Noble. We went there with her kids and I bought her coffee and I hung out with the kids. And that was, I think, the last time or one of the last times that I ever really hung out with the kids. And one of the kids being my godson. I mean, it was just hard because I so badly wanted things to go back to normal. And I
Yep.
think it's this Barnes and Noble that she used to work at too. So like I had all of these memories of being in sixth or seventh grade and being dropped off at the Barnes and Noble. And I
Yeah.
would sit in the cafe and wait for her to get off of work at like 10 o'clock at night. And then we would go and have a sleepover. And obviously later I realized that she had groomed me, and that's like a whole layer of healing. But I just had so many positive memories with her at this Barnes and Noble. So going back there with her kids, it's like, this is our history. How many times have I sat here waiting for you, wanting to spend time with you, just desiring friendship from you? And, um, I have gotten comments or even people in my life being like, absolutely not, Juby. Like, even if she apologized, even if she took responsibility, I could never forgive someone for X, Y, and Z. And totally, totally. I mean, I get it. It's just when you love somebody and when you have such history with them, it's hard. You'll find yourself accepting things that maybe you wouldn't advise anybody else to accept it. Um, so yeah, I think my advice would be, how did she attempt to clean up her mess? Because to be honest, I did give my maid of honor the out to try to clean it up,
Yep.
and for me, that was the line of, I'm willing to do this if you walk it out correctly, if you take responsibility for what you did, and if I truly feel like you're sorry. Would I trust her? Maybe not, but would I be willing to like work on our friendship and go to therapy? Yes. So
Mhm.
is she apologetic or is she not so much? I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think, Kens?
Yeah, I agree completely. My biggest question, and this is, I know we don't talk about this a lot in the terms of friendship. We talk about it a lot in romantic relationships. So, the idea of people who stay in relationships because they love the person so much, even though it's abusive, or even though it's not the right person for them, or there's just the compatibility is not there in terms of a long-term relationship, but they love them so deeply, so they stay. The same thing can be true for friendships, that we can stay in harmful environments with our friends because we love them so much. And you're not alone in that feeling, Juby. I also have experienced that with the same person, of just feeling like it's been a long time now since I made the decision to not have them in my life. And I am just now starting to have moments where I feel like I'm mourning the loss, which I think is interesting because I think it was just so much time has passed. I wasn't expecting to feel that. So the fact that you miss this friend who did you dirty, that really like harmed you in a very specific way. I mean, I agree that if they just kissed at a party and then she came to you like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry this happened. But if you guys are this close, you're best friends, you're this close, you're talking about this person that you're in love with. You're sharing your heart. You're sharing how you feel. You're sharing your sadness that you're not together. You're sharing what you're going to try to do to be with this person, like whatever it is, right? You're sharing these things. And if she was with him the whole time, and listening to you and being there for you while you're sharing, there's a level of deception there that would be really hard to move past. So, my question would be, do you miss her because you have so much history and you're just thinking about all the good times? Or do you miss her because everything about the relationship was actually really solid and you think she's an amazing, good person who made one mistake and you're wanting to give her another chance? That's the question.
Yeah.
If you look back over your friendship and you're like, man, the good times, but this deception can be seen even in small ways throughout the entirety of our friendship, you really need to think hard about that. If you're like, this is so out of left field, she's been a consistent, loyal, amazing friend to me, and this one thing is actually really confusing and it doesn't match up with her character at all, and you want to give it another shot or reach out, that's your prerogative. You are absolutely, you can do that. um, I've had those situations. I have had situations with friends where we took a break because of harm done or, just things aren't working out and we've come back together and I'm grateful for that choice. And then I've had situations where I've had to let people go and mourn the loss of them. And it's the same way with breaking up with a partner. You're going to miss that person. You're going to miss them and want them back, but it's important to look at the pattern and protect your heart. Sometimes we have to lose people, and that doesn't mean that we don't miss them. Sometimes people hurt us, and that doesn't mean that we don't miss them.
Hmm.
But that also doesn't mean that they're healthy for us or that we have to keep them in our lives or even that we should.
Yeah. And one thing I was thinking too is that having her in your life again, if that happened, or if you ended up deciding that that is how you wanted to go about it, it doesn't necessarily mean that she would have the same access to you. You could like ease in and have a more cordial friendship with her if that is what you wanted. The only reason I'm saying that is because I think I might have mentioned it on another episode, but my friend catfished me back in
Oh, yeah.
oh, that was so crazy. And was that crazy? She catfished me and told me that I was, Joe Jonas was kind of into me, and I somewhat believed it. It was such crazy lore. There were so many facts kind of backing it at the time. Our entire family was kind of stumped and wasn't sure if this was true. And I've chosen to remain friendly with her to the point where when I was at Bethel, she went to an affiliated Bethel school a few hours away, and I drove over there and we spent the weekend together. And we're not super close now, but she supports me on social media and we're distant friends,
Yeah.
and do you kind of have like one eye open after that? Like, yes, definitely. But I do think that, I don't know, there's always a chance, but I was tearing up at what you were saying, Kens, when you were saying how like often with relationships, we do think about how we remember the good times with romantic partners and we can ignore abusive tendencies. So, yeah, I feel like that's so true. I feel like that is what I went through in my friendship with Crystal was where I'm just like, I just love her so much that
Hmm.
you're willing to ignore a lot. And I think it's important to realize that that can also happen in friendship relationships. So, yeah, it really depends on her reaction. Um, yeah, but that's really hard. And I'm so sorry that that happened because
Yeah, you didn't deserve that.
no, it's hard to be put in that position for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. I'm very curious to see what you think about this one, Kenzie.
Okay. Okay, give it to me.
We didn't talk about it before, and I feel like this could go either way. So,
We'll see if we agree.
yeah, right? Okay,
Mhm.
my sister just announced the name of her baby, and I hate it. It is one of the names that sounds like a perfume brand mixed with a kitchen appliance, and everyone in the family is faking excitement. And I know that they all think that it is awful too. I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I also don't want to lie. Should I be honest and risk offending her forever, or should I just go along with it and hope the kid can legally change its name someday?
It's that bad. It's that bad that she knows that,
It's,
or she or he knows
yeah.
that this kid is going to hate their name and change it.
Is it like fridge? Like
Yeah,
what
is it? That's
Please let us know.
so
I want to
funny.
know so bad what this name is.
Yeah, that's so funny. And I firmly believe you say nothing.
Interesting. Tell me why.
Because I've named children and I have named human beings that will go forth in the world and bear this name until they can change it themselves. And it's such a large personal task. Like, it's such a task. Like, you're carrying this baby and this life is developing inside of you. I took a really big risk with my second daughter's name. I like made it up. And so it's
a great name though.
Thank you. I do love the name, and I get it when people, but there were a lot of people that were honest with me and were like the older generations who were kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, interesting name, right? But I think now people are like, oh, it fits her. Can't imagine her having a different name. But I just think it's not your kid to name, and I know that it can feel like you're doing a disservice to this child by allowing them to be born without saying it. But okay, here's the thing. My mother was going to name me something different than Mackenzie, and my aunt ended up naming me. And I don't think this is always bad, but I wish my parents had named me. I wish that I had the name that my parents gave me. It's not that I don't love my aunt. It's just that she's not my mom. And so I wish that my parents had named me and that I had had the name, even though I like my name better than the name they were going to name me, which was
yeah, what was it?
It was starts with a P. It wasn't Paige. It was
Penelope?
No. If I think about it, I'll tell you. I can't even
I feel
remember.
like I remember Paige. It's not Paige.
No, it wasn't Paige. It was the name of the lady from The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a movie.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay, Peyton. Okay, so my mom wanted to name me Peyton, and it's not that's a bad name. That's what she wanted to name me, and this movie came out that was like a scary movie, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and the main character's name was Peyton, and my aunt was like, you cannot name your baby that, like, rah, 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 right? Like, that's a terrible name. Interestingly enough, my daughter bears a name of a scary movie that came out the year that she was born.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
Yeah,
I
and that
never
was not
thought
on
about
purpose. Like, she was born and then the movie came out. But I was just like, I'm glad I still named her that, and it's my name that I chose for her. And so I just think parents should be able to name their babies. And if the child hates it, they can change it one day, right? They can do that if they want to. I understand though, if you're like, they're going to get made fun of at school, but it's not your kid. And so I just think that you should just let the parents name their babies. That's what I think. What do you think, Jubilee? What do you think?
I honestly didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other, but I think you've convinced me. Okay, so here's the only reason why I was like, maybe say something, but honestly it was like 20%, is that my aunt, she used to be a nurse in labor and delivery.
I can only imagine the names.
You're not even going to believe it. Okay, it was in Kentucky, and she helped deliver these twins, and the parents named them Bubba 1 and Bubba 2. Like, I am so serious, you guys. I'm sure you think I'm lying, but this happened.
What are they going to call them?
I don't know. That's so crazy. 1 and 2. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's so
B1,
funny.
B2. So, yeah, I'm like, okay, if it's something like that's like so bad, where it's like, this is like okay, it's taking it too far, but I'm like borderline child abuse, you know, kind of vibes, then maybe I would say something even if, you know, you shouldn't.
Okay, I can hear that.
But I will say people were not happy when my parents said that they were going to name me Jubilee.
Really?
Not happy.
I didn't know that.
People spoke up and they were like, "No, that is
Not
not
that
a
one.
good name." And they were like, "Really? That's not a name." And it is more so now, like barely, you know, I've seen some younger generation people named Jubilee. I think that the Duggars named one of the children that she miscarried Jubilee.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it is something that's out there now, but like when my parents named me that, people were like, "You guys are insane
Can
for
you
doing
imagine
that."
being named anything different? That is your name.
No. Jubilee, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I love my name.
Yeah.
I feel like it like makes me who I am. I love
Yeah.
my name. And especially like Jubilee Dawn. Like I love
Mhm.
it. I'm obsessed with it. So yeah, I'm so glad that my parents did not listen to that advice. And
Yeah.
similar with my sister Maggie, people were not happy that my parents were going to name her Maggie because they said that's a nickname. They said
Oh.
you have to name her Margaret, you have to name her one of those names. And they were like, no, we just like Maggie. And Maggie is totally her name.
Again, can you imagine?
No, I
Yeah.
can't. So, yeah, I do lean more towards you're right because same thing with your daughter. I feel like I'm just obsessed with her name and it
Yeah.
fits her so well. So, yeah, I think with my parents for their last kid, Mia, my sister, they told no one. They waited until after and they said this is the name because they were tired of people having opinions. And to the point where they've kind of raised me to be that way. They've always
Mhm.
given me the advice and don't tell people. Although low key, I'm trying to convince Brand that the name Elowen is the cutest thing.
I love that name. He doesn't like it?
No, he does like it, but
Oh, okay.
he doesn't like it the most out of the
Oh.
ones that we have. We have names. Um, you know, I
That's
love the
so
name
cute.
August for a
Yeah.
boy and for Augie, like from Wonder. And he's like, it's
Yes.
kind of pretentious. I'm like, oh, how dare you?
No. Come on,
No, right?
Bran.
No, I'm like, I can convince him. I can. I'm convinced. But like he does like Elowen, and I really do love that name. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think probably stay out of it as long as it's not something like trash, you know,
Really, really bad.
like no, like their name is trash.
Oh.
I'm like, as long as it's not like
Garbage can. Yeah.
abusive to like name your kid this, I would stay out of it because it's like, well, they're gonna do it anyway. We do have some family who named one of their kids Valentine, and
Yeah.
people had a lot of feelings about that, but bro, it fits her. I
That's her
don't know.
name.
That's her name. It
You know
is.
what?
So
I do, and I'm gonna stand on it. Like having your parents name you is such a cool thing. Like it's just cool to have your parents name you. My dad, so
yeah.
the agreement between my parents is that if I were gonna be a girl, my mom would name me, and if I was gonna be a boy, my dad would name me. And
Why didn't they want to be collaborative?
because when have they ever been collaborative a day in their lives? Okay, my parents are not married. All right, so they collaborated when they made me. So his name for me was Zane, and I just wish that they had just named me Zane.
Really?
Oh
Because
yeah,
funny enough, we know a Zane,
we
me and
do.
Kenzie, and it's a
Yeah,
boy.
it is a
So
boy.
I didn't even know that a girl could be named Zane. But that's
Why
kind of
not?
I
Yeah,
love that name.
I wish they had named me Zane, Zayne.
Oh, fun. I like it.
Yeah, so maybe one day I'll change my name.
To
Anyway,
Zane.
to Zane. It'll be
No,
Zane and Jubilee.
I love a good unique name.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, if anybody wants to know what it's like to have a unique name, it's amazing, at
It's
least
great.
for me. And
Yeah.
I really like not meeting people who have my name. It's fun. So
Yeah.
I would just leave it.
Let her do what she's gonna do. It's gonna be okay. And then you're gonna make up a pet name for your nephew or niece anyway.
Inevitably, you
Yeah.
will.
So it doesn't even matter. You don't have to call them by their name regardless.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
Okay, let me take a sip. because this is going to get into our religious
Cheers.
trauma brain. Cheers.
Cheers, queers. Sorry.
I'm obsessed. Which the older I get, whoa, this is, man, your fiance is going to be watching this podcast and going to be like, you guys absolutely had a drink. No, because I was about to be
Guys,
like,
let us know if you love it. All right.
I was like, actually, the older I get, am I straight? Anyway.
Wait, no. You
I'm
can't
like, can I say that?
You can't just skip over that. No, you can say it, but you can't just say that. You have to say more.
Okay, this is the epitome of Overshare Hour. I feel like it's the tea of our episode. So here's my tea.
Okay.
Wait, should I save it for the overshare moment?
Yeah.
Because it's a whole story.
Let's save it.
You guys are going to be very excited. My first kiss was with a very cute girl. So anyway, I'll save that.
To be continued.
Okay, next question.
Great. Here we go. I'm reading it?
Wait, did I read the last one?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm reading it.
I think you are reading it. Okay.
All right, here's the next one. Hello, my name is Alex. I'm 31 and I'm an elementary teacher in the middle of Oregon. I'm curious how you would recommend kids on missions who knock at the door approaching, asking to join the church. My gut has been to just say no thanks because I understand the pressures they are facing and information they are working with means I will probably not be able to engage in a helpful way. I'm curious, is there a way to talk to them to expand their horizon potentially? If I was to talk with them, is there a helpful line of questioning or way about it that could create comfortable dialogue and conversation for them? Not trying to change their opinion or berate them or anything like that, but if you were in their shoes, what's something you think could have helped make you more comfortable to step out of your shell and just have a chat about life/the church? Please.
Ooh. Well, before I get into it, I have a question for Kenzie. Did you ever knock on doors?
Not in the States. I did overseas. Did you?
Absolutely.
You were a true believer.
Look, I was on the mission field of Redding, California.
Yes, you were.
Which actually slay. No, okay, not really, but I am very much against people being like, I need to go overseas to do this because
absolutely.
There's America here if you really feel that way. No, but when I was at Bethel, they did have us knock on doors and I was assigned to Clay Street, it was Mosaic Street. Okay. That's where I was assigned. And it was kind of like this rough side of town. There was a thrift store at the end. And for every Thursday of my first year, I had to go knock on doors and I was supposed to minister to these people.
Right.
I ended up just babysitting because I refused to do it. Because I thought that it was, I hated treating people like projects, and my leaders hated me for that. And they told me that I needed to go do treasure hunts, which is where you go out and ask God to give you a word for people. And I ended up finding this mom, and I said, can I babysit your kids every Thursday from this to this? And I just did that all year, and we played tag. Except for one time, where this man did invite us into his house and he made us coffee and we did that and we had a nice time with this man. Yeah, so reading this submission, I don't know that I have great advice, but let me just spitball. Let me just say what I think. Okay. If you're trying to reach them, I think that the best way to go about it is a gentle way where you're not telling them that they're wrong, which it sounds like you already know that. Because it sounds like you are a very compassionate and good person and you understand the pressures that they are under from their belief systems, their parents, what they've been raised in, and they're being sent out to go do this thing and you fully understand that. So at this point, you have decided to just say like, no, thank you. If you were to talk to them, I think that it would be okay to ask them, tell me what you believe and why, and have them give their spiel because then they'll feel heard. They probably feel like, check mark, we saved some, or we shared our beliefs today and we did something good. And then that way they feel good about themselves. But maybe you could say, why don't you share? And then I'll tell you what I believe after. And they'll probably take you up on that because they want to share what they believe. So if you phrase it like you share and then I'll share what I think, then maybe they'll listen to what you think and you can give them a gentler kind of theology or way of seeing life. And I think you need to go into this with zero expectation that you are ever going to see any fruit of any seeds that you plant
Yeah.
because yeah, and I'm going to bring something up about you, Kenzie, because I think that you'll probably have a bit to say, but you know, the seeds that you plant in people, this could take 10 years, 15 years. You have no idea. But if you just tell them, like, this is what I believe and this is why, based on research I've done, based on my life experience, this is what I believe. And you say it in a kind, non judgmental kind of way. And you just say, thank you so much for sharing with me. I appreciate you caring about me and knocking on my door and just showing them kindness. I think that your words can stick with them. So, Kenz, I wanted to ask you because I feel like I remember you telling me, and I'm going to have Kenzie come on Heel Dish to share the entire story
Yeah.
very soon. But I know you've told a story before about how when you were, was it in Thailand or where was it?
The
It
Middle
was in,
East.
when you were in the
I think
middle.
I actually don't know what you're going to say, but I think I know what you're going to say. And if I
Yes.
am, it was the Middle East.
It was the Middle East. When you were in the Middle East and somebody kind of ministered to you
Yeah.
in an opposite kind of way when you were trying to minister to them. So, yeah, I would love for you to share that.
Yeah, totally. So I was in the Middle East and I was there doing the Lord's work and trying to convert people away
As we
from
do.
the religion that they grew up in and knew to our new religion. Anyway, we were in this apartment having coffee and tea with a family that we were ministering to. And I wasn't personally doing a lot of talking. I was with my team, and the team leader was the one who was like preaching the gospel. So we were all sitting around on the floor in this tiny little apartment with the family, and I was seated next to this older gentleman. I mean, he was very old. He was probably the grandpa of the group. And mind you, we had interpreters with us because the majority of people didn't speak English. But we're sitting there, and the team leader is preaching the gospel in a very nonchalant way, you know, not trying to be too overt, but like definitely doing the things. And this older gentleman turns to me and he looks at me, and very quietly, just to me, he says, "You know nothing about the God that you serve." And for me, I was like, I guess I was already on the fringes of deconstruction at that point, even though I didn't fully realize that I was, but I had just gone through a traumatic experience getting to the Middle East. Yeah. And so for me, that was confirmation. I had already gone through all of these things that was getting me to the point of realizing that the organization that I was in was not reflective of the love of God at all. And this man didn't know that about me because he didn't know me from Adam, right? But he said what he thought he needed to say. And even though it sounds like kind of harsh, and someone might have been super offended by that if they were in a different headspace or a different place in their lives, it's possible someone could have been super offended by that. I wasn't. I took it as a sign from God and an answer to prayer, because I had been asking questions and starting to already question within myself, but no one around me knew that. I mean, no one in my group knew that. No one in my community knew that. Only I knew that. So there's also a chance you never know what part of someone's journey that they're on when you meet them. Just because they're coming to you and knocking on your door to share the gospel doesn't mean they aren't already kind of wrestling with their own beliefs. Just because someone is doing that does not mean they're not. I mean, I will say that till I'm blue in the face. I was preaching the gospel in other countries when I felt deeply within myself that it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, or that it wasn't right. Because it takes time to make those shifts and those changes, or to even start to really deeply question when you're that enmeshed. So yeah, he just said that in a very gentle way, and it was very life-changing for me. It actually completely changed my life and sent me in a new direction. And so that's that story. Do you want me to tell you, do I want me to get into what my advice is?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what I would say is we're taught in these evangelical systems and high control religious spaces that we have the goods and everyone else is suffering. Anyone who doesn't have God is a bad person, or at least, even if it's not necessarily outright said that at all times, that's the impression that we're given, that everyone's just lost and they're just lost at sea and they're all just sitting in their living rooms like high on drugs and no one knows what they're doing. Like, it's really this impression that we have to go save people from their physical human experiences, and that if they don't believe what we believe or do what we do, then they have it all wrong and they're really broken. I mean, we are taught to believe that these people are broken. What I would have loved to see in these scenarios where I'm going to places and ministering is people who are living their whole lives in very beautiful ways, because we were often taken to these communities. I'm actually having a little bit of an aha moment. We were specifically taken to communities that were struggling, so that I think they could reinforce this belief that, see, this is what life looks like when you aren't a Christian. And this doesn't even mean that these people were bad or wrong. I'm just talking about like people who were like, you know, houseless communities or just anything at all that is less than desirable. They're looking at that and they're like, see, this is what it looks like when you don't have Jesus. And if they just get saved,
the fruit.
Exactly. If they just get saved, everything will change. And so it reinforced that belief. But what if someone came into my home, right? And I don't answer the door for these people. So that's another thing. You're not entitled. You're not required to answer the door. This is only because you're saying you're interested in it. If you're interested in reaching these people, open the door and be yourself. Just let them see a kind-hearted, interested person. You don't even have to minister to them or try to, you know, counteract their ministry. Just listen to them. Make them the cup of coffee, like you said, Juby. Sit there, listen to them, ask them questions, tell them the truth about where you're at in a very normal way, because I can guarantee you that the majority of evangelical people who are in high control systems are going to be shocked that there are normal people out there in the world just living their normal lives who are also kind and loving and caring and empathetic and compassionate. And I think that more young people who are being taught that those things can only come if you're within this system, they need to see that compassion and love and empathy exists outside of the system that they're in, because we're just not shown that and we're not taught that, and that's not real. It wasn't real for me when I was young. I mean, my cousin once told me after I had deconstructed, and they're not Christian and they never have been, I just didn't like that you used to say that we could only love each other. She was talking specifically about her and her husband, that we could only love each other if we were Christian, because true love comes from God, and that whatever we had wasn't true love because the only real love comes from God. And I think that it's important for people to see love modeled outside of that narrative so that they can start to see that maybe it's possible that there's something else out there that doesn't look exactly like what they're being taught that it is.
Absolutely. I love that advice. I didn't even think about that. Just showing that you can be normal and happy and not necessarily share the same beliefs as them. I do think that that was a big part of the brainwashing, was this idea that anybody who doesn't believe what we believe, especially in the cults that we were in, they're unhappy. And if they're experiencing happiness, it's fake happiness. None of it's real. And they're all deceived. And, you know, looking back, I remember as a kid, I have this very big memory of watching The Amazing Race. And, you know, I was in the church raised to believe that being gay is super wrong. Like, hell to you, okay, if you are gay. And I remember watching The Amazing Race and being like, I love this couple.
Yeah.
It was a lesbian couple, and I was like, I love them. I love them. I think that they're so cool. And you could just see how much they adored each other. And I remembered feeling guilty watching The Amazing Race with my family, supporting this couple. But those things stuck with me, you know, and even though it's a little seed, as I grew up, I was like, I actually don't buy what the church is telling me, that gay people can't be happy, that they can't be fulfilled in these relationships, that they're all lost and all broken and they're all deceived because that is what you're told, you know? And I think that just showing, hey, I have a good career, I'm happy, I have friends, I'm not some weirdo.
I'm
I
also not
I'm an
mad at you. Like, I'm listening to you. Yeah.
I'm empathetic. I'm not going to slam the door in your face. It shows that those positive attributes are not owned by the church, which
Yeah.
I think is what I believed. I believed that love, compassion, empathy, it was owned by the church that I was a part of. And I truly didn't believe that anybody else was capable of those emotions. So do your best to just model what it looks like
Yeah.
to also have those wonderful human experiences. I love that advice, Ken. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Yeah.
I just want to add, like, as an aside, that that's probably why we struggled so much once we started to see this behind the scenes dirty work of the church, because there's this narrative that love and compassion and goodness and all of those things only exist within the church. That's why there's so much cover up of the raw, real humanity that turns into, evil and abuse and all of the other things. It's covered up so much because they have to keep up this facade of, well, we're the presentation of love, we're the presentation of anything good in the world, that
Yeah.
their humanity is something that they can't even show, and so it's stuffed down and it's hidden behind closets, and then it becomes this monster behind the scenes. And then when we found that out, we were like, whoa, what even is the world, right? So if
Yeah.
and then we had to go out and find people and try to figure it out. So if I had run into people along the way that I was convinced were living with joy, and didn't, believe what I believed, maybe it would have helped me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I do believe that.
Because all I had were people in my life who did. So I didn't have another example. All right, let's grab a sip before our overshare.
Okay. So for my overshare, I guess might as well. I didn't really have anything to overshare about, and I kind of alluded to it spontaneously. Um, Yeah, so I've just been thinking lately that I don't know if I'm straight. Not
God.
Yeah, let's just drop that bombshell. No. Um, which whatever. I mean,
Girl
okay,
power.
here's
I don't know.
girl power. Okay, so yeah, the reason is, and here's the lore. Kenzie was here for all of the lore. It was quite dramatic because if you guys don't remember, obviously Kenzie had married my brother and we all met at youth group. So while I was at youth group, I really need to do a story time about this on
You
TikTok
totally
at some
should.
point because it's tea. But my first kiss was with a girl from youth group. So all of their trying to make sure we were super pure, it didn't exactly pan out. Yeah, but we were besties. Let's give her a fake name. Okay, so I am going to call her Sydney.
Okay.
We came up with this great name. So anyway, I was 14 and she was 16, which is kind of, but especially at that age, because 14 feels so young,
It
but
does feel so young.
it
Now, then
does.
it didn't.
hmm But I met her at church and she was like very cool girl. Very, I don't know, how would you describe her, Ken's? Like life at the party, people loved her. She was
Also
very
edgy.
confident. Edgy. So like kind of the emo vibes because I was kind of like emo vibes, but
Yeah.
like in a cool way.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember it was Halloween. This is such tea, but it was Halloween and we ended up having a sleepover and she was wearing this corset. I thought she looked so pretty. Like she used to wear corsets as just tops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Which was interesting. But
She was that cool.
anyway, she was that cool, guys. And yeah, we ended up kissing. Maybe someday I'll share the details because it's actually really cringe. I think we kissed on a dare with some guy on the phone. It's very cringe. But I was such a baby.
I
And
love it.
we ended up like having this situationship for a long time, and then her parents took her away to a troubled youth camp, which is honestly very problematic. Everything
Yeah.
I heard about that place was very terrible, and I'm sure abusive and horrible. And she ended up coming back, and then we dated for 2 months.
Hmm.
And when I tell you guys, I was in love, or I thought I was. She was my Valentine. We got each other gifts, and we used to sing like romance songs together. I was
Yeah.
all about, all about this girl, Sydney. But then we broke up, and it just, I don't know. Ever since then, I think like I did date guys,
Hmm.
and I love guys. I'm gonna be real. I do love guys, but I think that I never wanted to identify as bisexual or queer or anything like that because I was very afraid of going to hell.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, actually, the friend that we, gosh, we bring this up so much, but the friend that we had used to tell both of us, like, if you can be with a guy, then
You
be with a
should.
guy so that you don't go to hell. Like
Yeah.
this was very
Literally. No,
explicit conversation.
verbatim. Verbatim.
Like that is the sentence that was said.
Hmm.
Like if you can handle being with a guy, then be with a guy. That way you don't go to hell. And I took that very seriously, and I never dated another girl ever again. And I very much had this idea in the back of my hind, like in the back of my mind, that doesn't every girl just want to kiss girls? You know, like
Don't you just everyone?
doesn't everyone, they're just attracted to girls, right? And I feel like the older I get, and then now that I've untangled hell, I've untangled what I do believe is a sin and what I don't believe is a sin. Yeah, I'm like, am I actually straight, or is it that I've had fear around this topic?
Yeah.
And that is what drove me saying that. Because, like, the truth is, like, I am more into a relationship with a man. Like, I
Yeah.
like feeling, sounds silly, but I like feeling small. I like feeling like taken care
Yeah.
of. Like, I like feeling like the feminine presence in a relationship and all
Yeah.
of that. But do I not, am I not attracted to girls? Like, absolutely, I'm attracted to girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, honestly, if I could pick, I would pick a guy. And
Yeah.
I think that that's why Bran is such a good, this is like really oversharing, but this is why Bran is like such a good pick for me because I don't know if you guys listen to Maddie. Do you say it Maddie Zom? Is that how
Yes.
you say her name?
Yes.
She just came out with a song that's called like Baby Girl, I
Yeah.
think. And in it, she talks about like, she's into guys that are like kind of feminine. So when you think of
Yeah.
like guys who are like Harry Styles or guys who like are not overly super masculine, that's what I'm into. And
Yeah.
my husband is super that. Like
Yeah.
he's super into just being himself. And like I find that so attractive. And I feel like I could never be with like a masculine guy. Like it doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. And my husband is like perfect because I mean, he's always like, there's no way that you actually feel this way. But I really do. Bran is like everything I want on paper. Like if I were to write down everything I find attractive physically, it's like Bran. I'm so attracted to him, and I just think he's like the hottest thing ever. And I feel like he was like made for me, you
I
know?
love
So
that.
with that, I'm super happy in my marriage. But I wonder, like, when it comes to identity and labels,
Yeah.
am I saying that I'm straight because a fear of hell, which I don't have anymore? So if
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore, is that really how I identify my sexuality? I don't really know. So that is my overshare of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
think?
No, I think it's interesting. And I also wonder if, like, maybe you haven't put too much thought into it until now because you do have this marriage and you are so fulfilled in your marriage and you love and are
Yeah.
attracted to your husband. So why do you really need to think about like what you're attracted to? But that's the thing is sometimes it's important for us just to be able to say it for ourselves, especially people who have grown up in high control situations where we were never allowed to explore our sexuality in that way. So just like being able to say it for yourself, like, actually, let me question this because is that another part of my deconstruction? Do I need to rethink that? And I think it's helpful no matter what. And actually, I don't know if that's like a little, what I'm about to say is a little bit too oversharing, but I think it also can work in the context of your relationship, depending on how you are sexually with your partner, right? And the things that you like to talk about or fantasize about or role play about or things like that. If
Mhm.
you have these really strict conditions in your mind about where you can go with that, like maybe it's more fun or more freeing or unlocks a new level in your own relationship just to be able to like settle in with the pushing those bounds a little bit and being able to explore like those parts of yourself.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, especially in deconstruction, I think that one thing you can probably relate to this is feeling bad about the things that we used to think
Yeah.
just based on like how we were conditioned. So to be honest, I don't remember which person it was. Maybe it was Miley Cyrus, maybe it was somebody else who came out as queer when they were already married to a man. And I
Yeah.
distinctly remember feeling really like judgy
Yeah.
at the time because I was like, you're married to a man, like no one cares. Which, oh my gosh, like looking back, I like want to throw up at how judgy we were
Yeah.
because it, mind you, we were like 19. Okay, but I like still it makes me feel sick to my stomach. Some of the things that I thought. So I'm wondering if like maybe even part of my healing and thinking about it is like, is there still that 5% in me that is telling myself
Yeah.
like, that's dumb to redefine yourself now when you're happily married to a man and you feel like very fulfilled. There's no reason to even think that way. But I'm like, actually, what if it's just about realizing who we are on this planet and like
Yep.
making peace with ourselves and like getting rid of any sort of lingering shame that we might have. So I feel like that's kind of like the process that I'm in. That's like my huge overshare of the week.
It's really good. And honestly, I will say, and this wasn't a good relationship or anything like that, but when I was coming to terms with my queerness, I was in a relationship with a cis man. I mean, I was in a relationship with a cis
Yeah.
man, and I came to that person and was like, let's unpack this a little bit, right? And it wasn't
Yeah.
a pressing need in that moment because I was in a relationship, but, and it's totally different, right? Because I think I always knew that relationship was going to end, but I wasn't like exploring that because I knew that relationship was going to end and I wanted to explore it later. Like it was a part of my deconstruction. It was a part of me
Yeah.
realizing I have to come to terms with this for myself, that I am attracted to these people and I find attraction to these people, and I have to like figure out if that's okay, because I was in, when I was in that relationship, I was in the very beginning of my deconstruction, and so it was the hardest of the hard, and it's always kind of hard even now sometimes. And I think that internalized homophobia is real for lots of queer people, you know, even
Absolutely.
way after deconstruction, even when you know that you know that you know, you can still have these moments because of how much that was ingrained, not just in religion, but in society. So I think, yeah, and even just like to be a person in society where that's not still not super okay, you know, it's, I think it's always worthwhile to know those things about yourself. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool
Yeah,
that you're
yeah.
thinking about it. Wow. Thanks for the overshare. What a brave
Thank you.
thing to say out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brand, he's so supportive. He's so chill. I'm like very thankful that I have the husband that I have because like I've said in previous episodes, like our relationship is so built on whoever you end up being. I love that, you
Yeah.
know, and like he loves hearing about my first girlfriend and how I thought it was really sweet and how we used to sing together. He's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so wholesome." You know, and like I think being with somebody who respects my memories and who
Mhm.
respects things about me that have made me me, and he's like not threatened or doesn't worry or anything. He knows how much I love him, but he's
Yeah.
like, absolutely think about those things and, you know, screw the system. If you feel like you've been suppressing it because of this, then screw it, you know. And it's just very, I'm very thankful for that.
You're gonna make me cry. That's
I
beautiful. And I
know he's
know
the
that he's like
best.
that. I know
No,
he's
he
like that.
is. He's amazing.
Yeah.
What is your overshare of the
So
week,
before I
Mackenzie?
overshare, like just to tag on to your story, because Sydney was someone we both knew, and Sydney had a brother, and Sydney's brother wrote a book. And I just feel like I have to just share this with the pod as a whole. All
What
of our oversharers need to know this.
what
Sydney's
book
brother.
did he write? I remember. Okay, can I say one thing about
Yeah.
Sydney's brother?
Yeah.
He at times was like this super goth guy that used to, do you remember he had fishnets on his hands?
Yes.
Yeah, like he would
Yes.
like wear dark and like had fishnets on his hands. It
Yes.
was like quite the vibe.
Yes, it was. And we weren't close because we went to youth group together. Everyone was like friends. We all knew each other in a
Yeah.
close environment, but we weren't like besties. Um him and I specifically. But he wrote this book and he was writing it like while we were in middle school and early high school. And then later, like way later in life, I'm pretty sure that I'd had both of my children. I get a Facebook message and he's like, "So I finished my book." I was the main character of the book.
You?
Me.
Wait, was he obsessed with you, Mackenzie? Wait, that's so weird, but that also tracks. That
I was the
feels
main.
like something no one.
Yes, and he
Wait,
sent me the book.
can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something that Kenzie would never say.
Oh.
Kenzie was the it girl of the youth
Oh,
group.
I
So
peaked in middle
I'm
school.
stop it. You're peaking now. No, you're peaking next year when the
Yes.
podcast takes off.
Yes.
No, but all the guys loved Kenzie. So
Oh,
that
no.
is unsurprising to me.
No, I don't agree, but okay, I don't know. I don't know.
Meh.
I do know though that this specific person wrote this book and sent it to me years later and was like, "Remember that book that I told you about that I was writing in middle school? I wrote them, and it's like a series, and it's like this. I'm pretty sure it's like this fantasy warrior book series, and I am like the warrior princess. So I should probably read it. I should probably go back and see if I can find it and read it.
You should put that on your resume.
Maybe
Be like,
I will.
actually, I am the inspiration for a very successful book series. Did you respond to him?
I think I did. I mean, it's been years. I'm sure I said something like, "Wow, that's amazing," or something, but I didn't read the books. I probably should.
That's so cringe. Did you want to share your overshare for the week?
Yeah, mine is not nearly as exciting, and it's not really like super oversharey. But so Luke and I have been watching this show. We're really into our shows. Okay, we like to watch shows. We like to watch.
As you should be.
Yeah, and we like movies too, but we really get into shows because we like to look forward to something, and we don't like things to end.
Yes.
So if it can like last longer, the longer the better, right? So there's this show that came out in like 2013, I believe, called Outlander. Have you ever seen it or heard of it?
Okay, I've heard of it. I feel like maybe it's from you. Like I've heard of
Oh.
it. Maybe it's not. Okay, but I've heard that I would really like it, but I don't know
Okay.
anything about it.
Okay.
Is it
So
reality TV or is it like a show?
no, it's a show. It's a storyline and it's based off of a novel series. So basically, we really like period pieces. So like anything that takes us back in time, right? So it starts off, I'm pretty sure it's I don't know, the 40s. And then it goes in okay, it's time travel. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's amazing. I don't want to say anything too much, honestly, because I don't want to give anything away for people who haven't watched it, even though we're like way behind on this and like just catching up.
So don't
But-
spoil it for Kenzie.
Yeah, yes, please don't spoil it for me. But they're actually working on the 8th season right now, I believe. So it's not even finished yet, but this will be the final season and we've just begun to binge it and we really look forward to it every night. But it's beautiful and lovely and amazing and the story is great and the scenery is great and the film, like, it's just beautiful, but it's also really amazing acting and a lot of things that I can appreciate. But it's also super spicy and like everyone is naked. Okay. So I just have to talk about this. Okay. Do we like to watch, or is it hard for us to watch naked people on screen with our partners? Because this is like a thing. Like, we haven't really watched a show, I guess, like this before. We have watched some shows like this, but we were like surprised by the amount of nakedness in the show, like full frontals, like you should be aware when you're watching this, if you decide to watch it, everything is seen and everything is shown. And like the length of the sex scenes are like immense, right? But I absolutely adore every bit of it. And I think it's like really great. I mean, like super love it. And I like, Luca, don't listen to this one at work. I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah, if y'all don't know, they
Yeah.
listen to it at work.
Yeah. So my fiance listens to it at work. He does home remodeling, and so he like listens to it with his partner. And I love the support, but also I don't know, it's just like kind of fun to watch. We have these conversations where like, oh, like, am I self-conscious about this, or is it like kind of great? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic because it really depends on the couple. For me personally, me and Bran, we love stuff like, oh, wow, I'm like, this is the spiciest overshare we've ever
You
had.
should warn people.
I'm like, sorry, spicy alert. Okay, no. We like stuff like that. Like we
Yeah.
have watched spicy movies before and stuff like that. And yeah, I do know people who are not into that kind of
Yeah.
thing, and I
Yeah.
totally understand, especially if you have trauma
Yeah.
around these sorts of things. So I totally understand. But like Bran and I, we should watch it because he
Yes.
would love that, to be honest.
It's
So
kind of great.
that's fun.
But I will say that, and I texted a friend of mine because I know she's into like storylines like this and kind of like the time travel, and there's a little bit of like mystical, like witchery things that happen. It's not too fantasy. I never watched Game of Thrones, but I know that's like dragons, I think. It's not like
Mhm.
that. It's more on the realistic side. So I texted her and I was like, you should watch this show. And she goes, I've watched it and I loved it, but there's one part about it that sticks out and it's the only thing I think of. And I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, it was pretty horrible. And so I was like, okay. So then I was kind of going back and forth, like, should I ask? Is it gonna ruin the show for me and be
Yeah.
a spoiler? I was like, do you think I should know, or is it going to spoil the show for me? And she goes, it's not going to spoil anything, but like if you want to know, I'll tell you. So there is some realistic of the times, like sexual assault. There is a
Okay.
sexual assault like moment in the show. I haven't seen it yet. But she did say it goes on for a really long time and it's really kind of graphic. So she said maybe fast forward through that. So like
Yeah.
for people with trauma, you like be aware that they show things that are like actually happening in this book. I mean, it's a novel that she wrote. So I guess it can be kind of hard in that way, but most of the scenes are not like that and most of the story is not like that. But yeah, it's pretty good. I really like
That's
it.
fun.
Yeah, it's
Oh
fun.
my gosh. I have a recommendation for you.
Okay.
Do you like to read fiction?
I
Or
love
not
to
really?
read fiction.
Do you really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just finished a really good book called The Honey Witch and I really, really loved it. I love fiction.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kenzie, I have a suggestion for you and anyone who's listening. Well, y'all might not agree, but I think it's great. Okay. So Bran and I read this book and then I was like, Bran, you have to read it. And we listened to it out loud on Audible on a road trip. And it's called The Love Hypothesis.
Okay.
Some people don't like it. Okay. And I'll tell you why. There's like some power dynamics, but it's like hot. Okay. So like if you're not into that and you can't look past like power dynamics, then like that's fine. I totally understand. Me,
Yes.
I'm like fantasy, like kink world. Like
Yes.
I'm like,
You're like,
this
if
is fun. I was like, oh, that's what I like about it. But okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're going to make it into a movie. It's called The
Cool.
Love Hypothesis. And like, did you ever watch Riverdale?
No, but I do know about it. Yeah.
Okay, so the lead girl of Riverdale was just cast as the lead of the Love Hypothesis. And then the lead guy is the guy. This is so funny. So if you watch the new Star Wars movies, do you know Rey from the new Star Wars
Yes, I
movies?
do actually.
Okay, so that that character and Kylo Ren, the evil guy in the new ones, it was like fanfic. That's what this book was. It was fanfic for those two characters originally.
Way.
That's where, like, it has nothing to do with that. It's about a girl who, like, works in STEM, and it's kind of like a guy who's her superior in this scientific world, and he's, like, very grumpy and whatever. But it's modeled after those two characters.
Wow.
So what is so crazy is the guy that they casted is the husband of the girl from Star Wars.
No way.
Yes, Rey. So like Ray's real life husband is playing this like very sexy scientist guy. And people were like, the casting directors had the option to do the funniest thing ever. And they did.
And they did it. They took advantage.
And he's low key really hot. So, yeah, it's like those two characters. And I just love that book. And it's spicy. I feel
Okay.
like it was the first rom-com that I read that I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck, and like I've read some more since then that I'm like, okay, actually it does get spicier. But at the time I was
It was
like,
the
oh my
spiciest.
gosh, yes. To the point where I was like, Bran, you have to read it. And he loved it. And I finished that book in a day. So if you get it on Audible or Libby, it is a very fun listen.
Well, thank you.
And I feel like for me, this is silly, but well, it's just honest. Like when life is so heavy
Yes.
with deconstruction and
Yes.
life is so like
Yeah.
we're constantly dealing with raising awareness about abuse in the church and like really hard things. I feel like reading fiction books that are spicy and fun and are just for pleasure in general, it is so healing to
It
just like
really is.
enjoy a good book and enjoy a
Yeah.
good TV show.
Totally. And I think about this too, which is why I'm like, oh, this is getting really spicy. And I feel a little bit like nervous to put this out and like let people hear us talk about this.
You shouldn't.
I know, because I'm realizing that as we're talking, and I wonder, and I would love to know actually. So if anyone listens to this and would like to send us a DM at the Overshare on Instagram or something, I'm like, oh, people are going to be so turned off by this conversation. It's going to be so offensive. But I think we only feel that way because of where we came from. I mean, right?
Shame.
Yes, the shame that we are in these beautiful, committed, long-term relationships. Like that's, talking about exploring sexuality or just like having these moments with
Yeah.
our partners, it shouldn't feel like that at all. So
Absolutely. And I think like with Bran, one thing, and I'll be honest, I wish that I need to be more receptive. Okay. Because like I have been so busy. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but like one thing I love about Bran and I's relationship is he recently read a book from an author that we've really enjoyed in the past. And he's like, hey, this book is really spicy. You should read it, and like, I love it. I love that, like, we share that, that
yes.
he's like, hey, this book is really hot. You should read it, and like, it's
Yes.
fun. Like, I'm sorry. I feel like we're all human. We're just enjoying the experience.
Yes.
And, it's fun to be able to connect with your partner. And also, we are rereading Come As You Are. So if you've never read that book, read it.
I have actually never read it, so maybe that's what I am going to read next.
Kenzie, let's read it at the same time.
Do you want to?
No, I would love that. I'm currently reading it, but like I'll give you my Audible login because
No, I have Audible, but just okay,
Yes.
I guess I don't have a free credit right now. So can I wait till
Well, you
August?
can have my login.
Okay.
You can read it. It's so good. It talks about, if you guys have never read this book, it's a book on sex and it talks about just like the different drives that people have. I think that so often we think that there's something wrong with us for wanting sex too much or not wanting sex enough. And it's hard, these things that you
Yeah.
navigate and you wonder if there's something wrong with you or your body. And this book is just extremely healing. So Bran and I decided to read it again together. We read it in like 2020. But yeah, it talks about like, hey, if you like a spicy show and you watch together and that makes you feel good, like there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. And I think that it really healed me in a way. So
I love that. I'm going to absolutely read it with you.
yeah, man, we overshared.
Oh, we went in.
We did.
We
Well,
did it.
it was so good. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys haven't seen, we did launch a Patreon. So
did.
we do have extra bonus, bonus questions on our
Yeah,
Patreon.
stories. Sometimes we'll do Reddit. So we'll pick like Reddit stories that we love and we think are really interesting. And then we'll talk about those as well.
And if you guys want to send us some Reddit stories via our Gmail or you want to send it on Instagram, if you're like, I really want to know what you guys think about this, go ahead and send it over there.
I was just going to say, we check our email and our Instagram every day. So like we try to get through things as often as we can, but at least see them. So if you have stories, we do have a link that you can send your stories to that are in our link tree on our bio at our socials on all of our socials. But if you also want to DM or engage with our stories, a lot of times we're asking questions on our stories, like engage there, then we will try to share as many stories and, give our hot takes as often as we can to as many of you as we can.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And if you could leave a review, that would literally mean the world to us. It would be so great. It helps the show grow. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Overshare Hour, and we will see you guys next week.
Love you, Overshares. Bye.
Bye.